Hello and welcome. You are watching a man called Jay, and this is AIL TV. Yes, I'm scuffling a little bit. Let me try my introduction again. Sorry about that. Hello and welcome. You are watching AIL TV, and I'm a man called Jay, as discussed last week. I am here every Wednesday to present Sudan Knowledge. Now, Sudan Knowledge is an organization which was created by Professor Alam Ahmed to bring Sudanese from all over the world to get together, discuss, and move Sudan forward. But it's actually not only to bring Sudanese from around the world. Sudan Knowledge is an inclusive organization, because in the upcoming series you will see that he has invited people from different backgrounds, Caribbeans, Africans from South Africa, West Africa. So tonight, here we are again. We have got three guests presenting their subjects. And this program was recorded in 2016 at the University of Stratford, here in East London. So, without wasting so much time, as I said, I've got three guests. They will be presenting. Mind you, whatever I'm going to play, this is a pre-recorded program. So these three guests, they will be presenting their subjects. But there is a very, very, very interesting subject here presented by Professor Honoud. He's actually talking about discrimination in Malaysia. That one will come towards the end. So, enjoy the show. I will be back after this.
My name is Dr. Azzuddin. I'm a physician by training. And I'm working, just to present you with an experience we had with some of my colleagues. We did it in southern Darfur. It's actually a small projection of a bigger work, which has been going on for some time as part of an interest. I kept coming and going back to the same place. It's all hinging, to be honest, among the talks which have been happening, this is just a small drop in the ocean, to be honest. It is very specialized area of medicine, a specialized area of health, very specialized small area of development. يبقى ما زي العمالقة اللي تكلموا يعني, لكن very small contribution. This slide tells you the problem we have in neurology, which is that the proportions of specialists which are needed in neurology are very lacking in Africa. Very simple graph. You can compare that to the context in the United States or United Kingdom. That's from where we started in 2005, looking at certain medical specialties as lacking in certain parts of Sudan and Africa, which would create problems. And we believe health is part of development. If people are not healthy, they cannot do anything. So that's one area of the subject being special. The other area of being special that we're working in Darfur, and Darfur is famous, doesn't need more elaboration. In terms of what to do if you are faced with a situation like this, lacking of service in a deprived area. These just are thoughts of where you could do. The second slide, I've just highlighted what we could do as medical specialists. We thought we could be working on some practical aspects to influence what we could do and also teach. This is a paper which we published before, going in details in terms of like what we found there. It's quite unique, and some of the people like Dr. Badur and people looking around in community sort of population statistics, you find things are a little bit different in places like Darfur, that a lot of problems are generated or caused or related to things related to infection or trauma. If you take infection and trauma away, people are healthy. Amazing. دي بتدخلنا في السياسة غاية باتشي. So with that background in place, we scrambled a couple of visits. So this report is really just reporting on a couple of visits, but also using some of the data from before. So this is a team. You can see that smart person there. You need somebody to support you in what you do, in terms of like, and you need to stay connected. وطوال بيدوك وصايا توديها معك. And so forth. Niala is in southern Darfur. It's quite a nice area, quite a nice area to be. It's actually the second biggest city in Sudan, following after Khartoum, and it's the most metropolitan city after Khartoum. It's quite amazing. At that time, when we visited in 2005, they were estimating roughly around 7 million people living around it, because people just deserted their areas and just come to the city. But it went down. I think now it's like 4 million or something. I will just go straight into the data briefly. This data was collected for the people who care about the research methodology. It wasn't a research, it's just like a case series or simple case studies, just observational thing. When I went there, it wasn't in our mind to study this, to put it in paper. But it's just a couple of visits, and then just when you look at the data, something is not right. So you just start putting it in graphs to be able to extract some lessons from it. So the methods were like field visits to the areas, and then collecting these data in sheets, and then just looking at them and analyze them. As simple as that, nothing high tech. This is ties with what Basma has said, that in a lot of people in Sudan are very young. Yeah, if you're looking at any clinic in the West, the people will be like here. So I still see patients, I practice in Nottingham, Glasgow. I work in a lot of hospitals in the UK, maybe up to like 40 hospitals. And we see people normally like 55, 65, 75, 85, 95. Last patient was 98, came on a bike. So people in Sudan are a lot younger than people we see in the West. So they're all around here. If you collect these together, you'll get a very big column. So that's the demographic. And then we're looking at the neurological problems they have been facing. Just the last 3 columns: headache, facial pain, back pain, and sciatica. Quite interesting. I put it here as pain-related and not pain-related. الناس وجعانة. في ألم في السودان. الله يجازي اللي كان السبب. This is out of the study. And there is a lot of pain. I don't know why. I asked one of my colleagues in psychology and psychiatry to look into, if you're looking at patients in a conflict zone, does that make them more sensitive or more susceptible or more feeling pain? I don't know. I don't know the answer. But just everybody coming to the clinic is complaining of pain in a very frustrating way. So the conditions, these 2 were pain related. So headache, facial pain, back pain, and sciatica. That's all pain. And then epilepsy. Epilepsy is quite common. A lot of it's something to do with genetics, inheritance, stuff like that. And then we see other conditions, and then miscellaneous. So the graph is a bit skewed. And then this is why we made these kind of visits. The idea of going to the people in the place, because people cannot come to visit you. So the fare of the flight from these areas to the capital is quite expensive. It could be cheaper to go from Glasgow to London by EasyJet than to buy a ticket from this. It's roughly around $120 one way. So 2 ways, you're talking about $200 to $250. This is today's price. 2 days ago, actually, I was in Khartoum. So I flown from there. So the idea was to take the specialists and to put them in where the patients are and see what you can achieve. So this is a breakdown of what we did with the patients. Like the majority of patients we manage to treat and discharge. So they have question, problem, fixed, discharge. This will show you the importance of them having some sort of vertical care, sort of tertiary care with a specialist, required follow-up and so forth. So I sum this up into the effect of bringing the specialist down, so treated and followed up locally. It's almost it's probably probably numbers. Yeah, so this shouldn't be so I've got another one with percentage, but this is probably numbers. Yeah, you'll forgive me for that. So it's definitely not percentages. Yeah, but roughly in numbers, you're talking about more than 2/3 of the patients kind of sorted, and then I left with less than 1/3 conditions which are prolonged, kind of chronic, or needed to travel to the capital for treatment. So this just reflected that what you might be able to do if you go to the people in need. Just to sum up, I just felt that the area needed some specialist clinics for new problems because you could solve the majority of them. Some patients, they have ongoing problems like epilepsy, back pain. They might need a bit of follow-up, so they need the program to be coming and going. You need a bit of understanding, funding, and support to be able to run such programs. And then related to specialties, so you could provide orthopedics with neurology, with rheumatology, because things are interrelated. I didn't find any infrastructure for education training of the locals, except just the word of mouth passing around. And probably there are sort of criteria for scientific and research methods to be done. Even this work can be done in a more sort of sophisticated way to show it. I just felt that there is an infrastructure of healthcare which is developing, but is still miles away. This is, if you are in hospital, you are still not 100% safe or having the water you need, so you might go around and shop around for water, and you buy it. To be honest, this is a bit old. It's not from this year. So this is a tanker delivering water within the hospital setting. So if you are a relative of a patient, you might need to walk around and buy water for yourself, just to look after yourself and so forth. This is a co-author of my first paper, an ophthalmologist. This is an inspiring photograph. This is the one before the last, I promise. 2 minutes. Okay. In concept of neurology and rehabilitation, we have problems that if somebody lost the use of their legs, lovely, good. Lovely is 5 minutes, not the loss of use of legs. It's like this young chap is paralyzed. Is paralyzed. So when they use the ability to mobilize, then patients will develop cardiovascular problems because they lose the ability to remain fit. So this chap, this bicycle or wheelchair, mobile, is being developed locally, and he's propelling it with his hands, and that's just exactly what you need with the wheels. And then somebody else, this is from Eastern Sudan. This is my colleague Oshek and Bashar Hussein. They published this in an older paper. So I find them looking together. So by this, it's just saying you need the science, you need the experience, you need the technology. If you don't have it, that's not the end of the story, because it's just all of it is expensive. Sometimes some people they just can't afford to buy what advances and technology you have. Some people will refer to local sort of resources, but using the same amount of knowledge and advance in medicine, they can really remain fit and healthy and very happy. This man was not able to walk, but I remember he really inspired me. I just felt like, wow, he's just the king. He's a king in his world. Actually, we took permission from these people to publish their papers, and it actually came in the on the cover of an international journal when it was published, and we took a copy back to him. I think that's it. That's all what I wanted to say. So I've got a minute. What I was trying to show with this is an example of the need of whatever the community is deprived or remote, or they have problems, they still just ordinary human beings. They will suffer from the same health problems which affect people sitting in big cities like London or New York, and then they will need specific cover for certain specialties which address their health problems. And this is a small model. My Alam is an aspiring figure, Professor Alam. I say Alam because he's my classmate back in University of Khartoum, but he did a different college. That he inspired me in terms of like the technology transfer. You want to transfer the technology and knowledge and science down to the point of use. In this model, we failed to do that in terms of big project. So what we try to do is like Tajir Shanta. You just pick up your equipment, jump on a plane, and go where people need you, and then just see what you can do, what sort of difference you might be able to make. And I just wanted to present the result here and just see what you would say. Thanks.
I want to tell you about an existing experiment, and it was not created to become a model for diaspora, but it is. And I hope you will find in it a model to be replicated in many disciplines and in many countries. Okay. Oops. So I'm going to tell you about the problem and the proposed solution and the results we get and what we are dreaming to get in the future. And then I will show you a 4 minutes video which kind of illustrate the result of this experience. First of all, let me tell you about the problem. In Sudan, we have, here it says 28 public universities. Now there are 32 public universities, and there are 12 private universities, and about 100 now small colleges. Now each of these colleges or universities, whether public or private, have one kind of computer subject being taught, either computer science or information technology, software engineering, networking, and so on. And it is a requirement by the Ministry of Higher Education that each program must be led by at least one PhD holder, which is a modest requirement. Therefore, we have a very big deficiency in people with PhDs. Also given the brain drain in the Sudan, similar to many countries, whereby anybody who has this qualification migrates from Sudan. And the other alternative, and also there are not many people, many professors who can supervise a PhD in these disciplines. Some people resort to going abroad to do this. It is very expensive for Sudanese families to do this. Also, there are many Sudanese who are tied by social conditions or otherwise, like girls who are married or those who have children. It becomes very difficult for them. They hold master's degree, but they cannot continue in higher education without a PhD. So we want affordable education and qualified supervisors to do this. Therefore, the objective of this program is to enable lecturers, that is people lecturing in Sudan is somebody who has a master's degree in the subject, lecturers who hold master's degree to obtain PhD in computer science and information technology in the country, and he should do current research problems, okay, he can come with me and do a PhD. Alhamdulillah, 30 people have done it, but it's not granted that it's current research, because you want somebody focusing on a certain area and working on it up to date, okay? And this is scarce in our country, under qualified supervisor and at an affordable cost. So what we did is that we have a call for supervisors. We said, okay, the internet is covering the whole world, so why not make use of the resources, of the international resources? So we have the call for supervisors. So we brought supervisors from all over the world, as you will see in the statistics, from Australia, from United States, Canada, UK, Germany, and so on. And we are using a system called WebEx, which is much better than Skype. In other words, students can talk to each other, they can talk to their supervisors, they can chat, everything is recorded, and so on. You get picture, you get video, you get audio, and so on. And the examinations, every evaluation is conducted face-to-face. In other words, they have to come to Sudan for their examinations. We have to see the person, we examine him, okay? Probably this is a bit conservative, but we want to get credible results. And we make sure that these people are the real people doing the thing. Oops, I am sorry, huh? So the students are from the country. When we started with Sudanese and a few people from Nigeria, Chad, and so on. But alhamdulillah now, for example, this year, we have 6 lecturers from University of Gondar in Ethiopia. They are with us, okay? Now this program is 6 years old. We have taken batch 6. We did not talk about it before because we were worried that the experience or the trial or the experiment may be killed in its infancy. So we waited until we graduated, and now we graduated 20 PhDs, and at least 6 of them are working in Sudan, okay? You know that Saudi Arabia has opened many girls' colleges, and therefore they recruited many of our masters women are working in there, but they are all threatened that if they do not get PhD, they may not continue in their job, okay? So the requirement to have a master's degree, it is competitive. We get like 120 applicants. We choose about 60 from inside and outside the Sudan. And as I said, they must come for their seminars in the university. The exams are in the university. We have, the supervisor has to come at least once a year. He will have every presentation will be attended by an external examiner from another Sudanese university, an internal examiner, and the supervisor. So the distribution of students until 2015, 2016 is not included here. You see we have a total of 95 males and a total of 113 females. There are from Egypt and Nigeria and so on. These are not Sudanese, but the ones from Saudi Arabia are mainly, as you see, they are mainly 45 Sudanese girls from Saudi Arabia who are lecturers there. They are enrolling. This current batch 6, we have 37 lecturers from Sudanese universities, private and public, who are in the program, and then the others are engineers or in companies and so on. The professors, as I said, from all over the world, and we are the only university in the world where the students sit like as you are sitting, and we parade the supervisors. Every supervisor comes and introduces his area of research, and then the student will choose 2 for semester 2, and then if he passes the 2 subjects with that supervisor, then he chooses one of them as a supervisor. We book a hotel, the students come, the supervisors come, and every day we introduce 2 supervisors, and the students sit with him, are you going to do this, and what is the use of this, and so on, with the 12 supervisors, and finally each student chooses 2. Okay. Okay, so this is the distribution of participating supervisors. As you see, Australia, Canada. You see, most of these are diaspora, but they were not recruited. They did not join as diasporas. They joined as professors from this university. Most of them, we prefer actually associate professors because they want to publish. They have more time for our students. They can bear the terrible English of our students and so on. Okay. So as you see, we have from Sweden, from Tunis, Turkey, UK, you name it, okay? So it is a tough job, you know, in the Sudan, whereby if a foreigner buys a ticket, it must be paid in dollars, and the agency wanted cash to get these people there. And particularly if you have a coup in Turkey, then most of your things, you see, the coup in Turkey affected us much more, I think, than Turkey, you see. Okay, and since we have many people from many professors from many universities, we have a spectrum of specializations covering the whole spectrum of computer and information technology, from business modeling to soft computing to network security, natural language processing, Arabic processing, mobile networks, geoinformatics, big data, and so on. Okay. Naturally, the professors want publications, and therefore our students publish in international journals and so on. So we have, this is up to 2014. Now we have much more than this in 2015 and 2016, alhamdulillah. Okay. Problems. When we started, like 4 years ago, the lecturer in University of Zalindje in Darfur, he does not have to come to Khartoum. He is following. He comes only for presentations, for meeting his supervisor, and so on. But now he has to go to the university because it has a good internet. He cannot do it from home. It used to be that the woman does not have to dress and go, and she can do it at home. But now, unfortunately, in the rural areas, the internet is weak. Fortunately, the WebEx system, everything is recorded, so they have to get it by, and so on. So that is a problem. The program was designed for 3 years. Now it typically takes 4 years because most of these people are working. And unfortunately, the Sudanese, when it comes to the research phase, they think that you register for a PhD and you wait and it will hatch a PhD in the end. But okay, but now it doesn't work, you know. So they have to do it, I can say, to international standards, and therefore it takes, and because we are paying the professor, so we cannot bear that he stays. I have students too who stayed 13 years on their PhD. Fine, no problem when we are doing it by research. But this method, it doesn't work. We cannot bear that he works slowly. Limited number of scholarships. 1 year, we got some money from Ministry of Communications and from Faisal Islamic Bank, so we had 10 scholarships for the students, but we couldn't continue, only those 10. Okay, I hope one day the way forward, we want money to fund the participation of our students in international conferences. These are PhD students, and it is their right to go and present their research. Okay, now those sponsored by some agencies can do it, the others cannot afford to do it. Okay, and it is time now. We now admitted batch 6. It is time to study the whole experience and find what is our weakness and how can we improve on the performance. more involvement of diaspora. In this program, we have only 2 Sudanese. One is a professor in University of Florida, and one in Malaysia. Okay, so we wish to have more diaspora. But as I told you, if we look, for example, the person coming from Tunis is an American, but he's Tunisian, Egyptian, who is British. We have the dean of University of Essex. He has some of our students, but he's Egyptian originally. We have the one in Australia, he's originally Ugandan, and so on. This is not the end of our aspirations. We want to make this program, this department, a hub, at least for East Africa. Because, alhamdulillah, now, since we have a relationship with the University of Gondar, and they sent us 6 of their lecturers, okay, and now another university in Ethiopia called Bahr Dar or something, okay, they also came and said, this is good for us, we are going to bring 5. So we want to keep these people, after they do their PhD, something to pin them in the Sudan, where they can publish more, and at the same time continue teaching within the country. Okay, I am going to show you a 4-minute video, if you bear with me.
My name is Imam Muhammad Al-Hassan Kambal. Currently, I'm a lecturer at the Faculty of Mathematical Sciences, University of Khartoum, Sudan. Here is my PhD successful story. I received PSC in 1992 and MCC in 2001 in computer science from University of Khartoum. I tried to start PhD research more than once, but unfortunately it stopped because of responsibilities of being a working woman and a mother. In addition, the difficulty of going abroad due to the family ties in the Sudan. I spent 10 years after MSCC teaching various computer science undergraduate courses. Some of the boys I taught finished their PhDs abroad and became my bosses.
As a normal person, I started searching about how I complete my study by researching about PhD. We have a lot of universities in Sudan. I went maybe 3 or 4 without mentioning namings. They always told me, you have to go and search for the supervisor first, and then bring it back. Then the supervisor went. They say they are busy. They don't have time for me. So I feel so bad. I traveled out of Sudan. I planned that I will do my PhD in a different country by different way. 2 years back, I heard from one of my friends there's a PhD program in Sudan University.
Fortunately, Sudan University for Science and Technology started this PhD program. Many professors from around the world have contributed to the program using advanced ICT tools, and this is one of the reasons why I joined the program.
So I start 1 year, heard some good news about the program. I hear that it's very good, the lecture is good, the way of making doing WebEx and studying online, how to take their exams, how they're preparing, bringing supervisor or PhD from other universities outside of Sudan. So finally I decided to come and register. I came 6 or 5 months back. I registered, alhamdulillah, in Sudan University. They accept me as a student for batch 4.
She is doing everything, and her husband is asleep, huh? Yeah.
The program was started in March only using data mining classification techniques. Application to Sudanese banks. Lastly, this story is ended successfully, and I won an award with a PhD degree in computer science in July 2014. I have now applied for the promotion to the status of assistant professors.
Thanks a lot for all the people in Sudan University for giving us this big and great opportunity. And this is not going to be only my story. You'll find hundreds of people in Sudan, they face the same problem which I already faced.
I think this you see here, we have many people in the diaspora, but they are coming for to help their region actually, much more than just their country of origin. And also the professors are motivated in the sense that some of them are coming for venture, some are coming to get publications, research, and so on. So there is an incentive.
If you could see, the title is Contextualizing Socio-Legal Problems of Sudanese Youth in Malaysia, a Case Study. It's simply a case study, and it's something that I lived it. It's something I lived it, and the research itself is a very simple one, in which I went, I did an interviews, and I met the students, and for your information, I've been there for 25 years in Malaysia, and actually every single problem by the students, or with the students, or to the students, or youth, or even the Sudanese communities, they come to me simply because I'm the legal something there. So always when they get into law, legal problems, they come to me. And as a matter of fact, I am the chair as well of the consultative community for the Sudanese community. So that's why I'm always there. Now, coming back, this is generally the introduction, conceptual background, methodology, data collection, demographic profile of the respondents, results and analysis, perception and understanding of Malaysian society, cultural integration. Yes, it still go on. Marriage, food, friends, language, social challenges, individual safety, voluntary community service, public safety, racial tensions and slurs, polycophobia, cyber crimes, and bullying conclusion. Don't worry, I'm not going to touch on all that. So the slides you have, they are just skimmy. And if you really want to know more about the problems, there are actually a lot of problems that Sudanese youth are suffering in Malaysia. And I remember Prophet Alam, when he read it, he said, I never knew that there are such huge problems suffered by the Sudanese youth. Anyway, why study Sudanese youth in diaspora? We have common problems. And we thought if we know about these problems, we might learn lessons to advise the local authorities in Malaysia, for example, advise the parents, advise the embassies, and the students themselves. Because one of the issues, if you want to solve the problem, you have to go to the root causes. And there is no way at all to go to root causes unless you study the thing on the ground. So my study is very, very empirical. It is a problem which we learned it, we lived it. And you will find very little theoretical background. It's not a theory. I'm not trying to develop a theory. It is a practical kind of a thing. Just trying to report what is there. Whatever theories you find there, it just brought in order to explain some of the trends that we experience with these students. The students in general, they are exposed to new challenges, a number of challenges, and all of them almost, they have the same problems. I mean, whether you are a student, whether you are a youth who's just passing by, whether you come for work, or whatever reasons you come to Malaysia, they share the problems. But of course, it's a question of degree. How long you've been there, how long you intend to be there, what kind of things that you are involved. Are you a student proper, or you are working, or you came hunting for job? So in whatever capacity you are there, you share the problems. We have different students or youth who come to Malaysia for different reasons. And with that reasons as well, they have different issues and different problems. Now, the kind of common problems that are shared by most youth in there are the study problems, problems with society itself, and with the law. And this is by far the most difficult issues that most students, they come to suffer with. This case study is better understood by these problems in socio-legal context in Malaysia. Well, whatever problems that are there, unless you contextualize it, it becomes really extremely difficult to appreciate the nature of the problems. So that's why I thought it should be understood within its socio-legal problems in Malaysia. Malaysia actually is not, as people think, heaven on earth. I mean, most Sudanese, they believe that Malaysia is something wonderful. It is wonderful indeed, but it has its own problems. And for us who go, I mean, anybody else who goes to live in a different country, definitely you come through a lot of problems, whether with the society, whether with the system, or sometimes with yourself. And this is what we can discover. We will notice that some of the problems here are created by the students themselves rather than by the society, on the other hand. Now, this is a qualitative method. Questionnaires, interviews were conducted, and on a lot of majority there, you will find the participant observation, being a part of the society, being there for a very long period, and being part of the Sudanese community, and being as a consultant, legal consultant, I have to observe. So as a participant observer, I have a lot of my input because I learned also from these kind of things. Yes? Lovely, I got the trick. The Sudanese community in Malaysia, they are part and parcel of African youth in the greater Southeast Asia. Now, some carry Sudanese. Now, you could see the Sudanese youth who come to study. You will find some of them, they have Sudanese passports, but they've never been to Sudan, less lived there for any extended periods of time. One of the very interesting things, if you really want to identify the Sudanese youth there, you will discover that, I mean, normally we say we are Sudanese, and we have certain common features, whether we like it or not. It's very easy to tell whether this is a Somali, or a Nigerian, or an Ethiopian, or a Sudanese, because just taking a little bit background, the cultural background, the mannerisms, the way people do things, I mean, it can tell very much that this is a Sudanese, or that's a Nigerian, and so and so. But in overall, I mean, the features are more or less the same. I mean, for the last 25 years, all my friends, majority of them, if not all, they call me a Nigerian. I mean, it's very interesting. Of course, I don't protest because a Nigerian, Sudanese is more or less the same, you know. So for me, I welcome it. But sometimes you feel it bad that someone you've been working with for the last 20 years, he doesn't even care to know where you're from. I mean, this is what hurts. Not because I was called Nigerian. And not only that, you tell him 100 times that, hey, I'm a Sudanese. Then after 2 weeks or 3, hey, are you from Nigeria? I mean, Yeah, I don't mind to be from Nigeria, but I'm not from Nigeria anyway. But that's the problem, you know. So you could see, if someone is a professor, and if being always bombarded with this kind of a thing, what about a student? I mean, you can imagine the kind of dilemma they are living in, you know. So the different backgrounds are really very important. Why I thought to bring these different backgrounds of the students to help us to really understand what are the cultural makeup of their attitudes when they come to study in Malaysia, for example. And this is really very interesting because that affects very much the way they study, the way they fare up, whether they fare up good or bad. I mean, this affects, although this is not a 100% determinant factor that will tell us whether students are going to do well or not well. And why I'm talking always to students, because the majority of the Sudanese there, I mean, Sudanese community in Malaysia is is a wonderful community because the majority of them, they are either university professors or students. Few of them undergraduate. I mean, of lately it's increased, undergraduate, and the majority are postgraduates, you know. And that's why it is always those who come there, they believe that the Sudanese community in Malaysia is an elitist, educated community. I mean, it's not 100% true, but it is in the majority of the case. Now, you could find that especially of lately, quite a good number of these students, they come from, they were settled from families that are actually settled either in Saudi Arabia or in the Gulf countries. Now, you could easily imagine that students who are coming from these places to Malaysia, why they are faced or they come across quite a terrible experience within the Malaysian society. Now, coming back from all these countries as well, you remember or you know that these countries, they have their own problems. I mean, imagine a Sudanese youth or youngster who is Sudanese by name. He carries a Sudanese nationality or Sudanese passport, but he's being born and raised up, brought up in either in Saudi Arabia or in any one of the Gulf countries. Now, you could tell, I mean, even the greater Sudan, I don't know whether I should say shame of us or not. Half of Khartoum is turned out to not Khartoum, مش خرطوم يعني bigger part of Iraq, مش Iraq, I mean Saudi Arabia, Al-Taif, Al-Riyadh. I mean, you go on, and you can tell. Now, you could see that even we, the elders, we bring this back to Sudan. What about those who are born there? How do you expect them to react from this kind of a thing? Now, they bring certain mannerisms from these societies, which definitely we know they have their own endemic problems. And it's not only us. I mean, these Sudanese youth who come to Malaysia, they do not come with the Sudanese problems. They multiply this, Sudanese plus Saudi Arabia. And as one of the professors was mentioning, Shalali, and I think you as well, you know, they start working in Saudi Arabia, they shift to the Gulf, or come to Malaysia, go back there, and you could imagine the children are moving around until the age of, I mean, they graduate from the university, and if they are somehow, I don't know, lucky or unlucky, they come and move to Britain, and they study, they finish whatever their studies in UK here. And you can imagine how many cultures, how many things that they come across, and they accumulate. And this is where most of them, they lose their identity. Now, okay, coming back, they acquire a hybrid culture as diasporic youth. When they come, as a matter of one of the most serious problems suffered is the transition period. I mean, those who come to study there, they have actually a real problem, particularly to adapt to the Malaysian society. The Malaysian society is a little bit coyish and timid and a little bit reserved kind of a society, which is, although they are, I'm not saying that they do not accept the foreigners, or they do not accept the expatriates or whatever. But they have their own uniqueness, like any other society, like any other society. But to tell you the truth, there is, Professor Sadiq is here, there is a little bit hypersensitivity against Africans. And you will see that the very fact you are an African, and especially a Nigerian, you are in trouble. And you can imagine I am in trouble because I'm classified as a Nigerian. Yeah, precisely. And this is the kind of a thing. I am a Nigerian. I don't mind at all. That's beautiful. That's lovely. So, the social climate in Malaysia is not always conducive as people think it is. You could come, on the face of it, everything is nice. Lovely weather. Rains all over. And particularly those who fast Ramadan there, they will enjoy to be there. But just go, I remember, just tell you a little story. I had my students, 2 friendly girls, they came to me and say, Prof, how do you find Malaysia? I said, wonderful. It's nice, people are nice. But then they looked at each other and then they smiled. I said, what is the problem? I said, Prof, have you been out to Kuala Lumpur? I said, no. Have you been to a nightclub? I said, no. Have you been to everything? I said, no. Then they laughed. You are outside the society. I think they were completely right. I lived outside the society. So if you really want to test it, if you really want to be in there, be in the society. And to be in the society, it's not just enough to mingle around. You have to mingle and go one step further. Maybe for my age and for my weight, I doubt if I can go that one step further. But the students, and this is where the problem is, the students actually, they are daring and they go that step further. And that's where they get into trouble. And this is the real problem. If you take your, if you reservedly, you protect yourself and you are some, you can really live very nice in Malaysia. But if you overstep yours, I think you will be in a really hell of a trouble. Okay. Some of them, maybe they come from a very reserved. And this is also very interesting. Some of these students, youth, when they come to Malaysia, they find themselves their freedom. Away from their parents, away from their khalo or khalo, all these kind of things, and away from the very dogmatic societies. Okay, you haven't done that, you haven't done. All these kind of things, when they are there, they fed off the shackles, they feel free, and that's what really the dangers comes. So they come to Malaysia relatively. I'm not saying that it is like Europe. It's not at all. It's a very conservative society. But if you compare it to, say, for example, Saudi Arabia, or to whatever society that's in the middle, in the Gulf, I think it's relatively a little bit more freedom. And it is that little bit more freedom that students, they use it, and this affects a lot the way they live in Malaysia. And they come, of course, for different reasons: jobs, business, economic reasons. Few asylum seekers. We have Sudanese asylum seekers there, but because Malaysia is not a signatory to so there are quite few. They get problems there. The majority come to Malaysia for educational purposes. And then we have the youth or students, like my children, for example, and we have quite a good number professors there. Some of them, they were born there, they got educated, and even my children, they seldom visited Sudan. Shame, I know that. But you could see how difficult it is, especially if you have a big family, to always shuttle them back to Sudan every few years. It's not an easy thing. Now, the empirical findings suggest that whatever category Sudanese youth come to Malaysia, as I mentioned before, they share more or less same problems. I try to list some of the socio-legal problems facing Sudanese youth in Malaysia. Some of these problems they are their own making. Some of them is made for them. So you could see that, I don't know how to make you wake up if you are getting to, I mean, it's a little bit boring, but let's give you a story, just a second. Now, some of them, these are the kind of things that are, they are so careless and they don't care about the law, and they go and drive, and they, by driving without licensing, and I think Professor Sadiq is here, I mean, all these problems, I think you comment on that. They commit very, very fatal accidents. And the Malaysians, you know, they are, I don't want to say that they are very British, but they are still following the British steps. They are very law-abiding citizens, relatively, of course. Now, one of the things that we have, can you imagine we have a lot of these prostitution going on, male and female Sudanese students or youth, they go to this. And you know what takes them there? It's because of the need. Some of them, they are pushed to it. Some of them, they are pushed to this. Some of them, they find themselves, they don't have any other choice but to sell themselves. This is really very sad. Did I spend 20 minutes now? Oh, that's very interesting. I'm really sorry. Okay, let me rush then. Yeah, okay. We have forgeries, we have immigration offices, drug abuse, addiction, drug abuse. And this is a very interesting story. There was a gentleman with his son, he's a professor, and then they were talking about the problem of drug abuse. Then his son said, Dad, do you know every other Sudanese, they must have tasted or used drugs, else he must be a priest. Then his father asked him, and you, who are you? He said, of course I'm a priest. You know. He said, of course I'm a priest. So they have problems with the police, you know, and then brutality, police brutality. This is very rampant, by the way, and extortion. I mean, sometimes, some of the problems that happens, the police could easily plant in order to extort, you know, and this happens quite a lot there. And this is one of the things that Sudanese, they suffer from it. And then some of them, because they act like drug mules and prostitutions. Pressure becomes intense that they are driven to the verge of psychological breakdown. Others commit suicide. And I think, Professor, you remember, just during the Eid, we had the Sudanese students who committed suicide. So we have quite a good number of these. Conceptual background, you don't need it. Methodology, actually, as I mentioned before, questionnaires, and then social media, and mostly these are the people that we used. And then it's terrible, once you are pressed with time, you don't know what to say and how to say it. You know, these are the demographic profiles. We did all that. This you could see. Gender. Amazingly, you know, the female ladies, they outnumber the males. Can you imagine that? Oh, that's very interesting, you know. So we have, and then analysis and findings, agreed that they enjoy their stay there, agreed that they easily adapt to Malaysian culture. But then if you go, these are those who responded through questionnaires. But then when I found that the number is not enough, I went myself and tried to interview the actual, you will find that the reality doesn't represent whatever that responses that came from the students there. So they are not happy, to tell you the truth, they are not happy. One of these things that is very common, Sadiq, to be called Negro in Malaysia. I mean, we are all Negroes. I don't mind to be called a Negro. But then sometimes when they call you for a certain, I mean, they have certain meanings after that, this is where. Or they call you Orang Hitam. Orang Hitam is a black person. I mean, so even professors, I remember, to tell you the truth, in one of the Senate meetings. Yeah, indeed. There was a Professor Hassan Ibrahim, he was with me, and there was another professor from Kenya, and myself, we were three of us. And then, three of us. And then we were arguing, actually. I mean, there was something very interesting, and we were very much involved, to the extent that actually Professor Hassan and I, we were arguing. Then this lady, she's a professor of English. She did her master's and PhD here. She said, look at this oral hitam, they are taking the floor and they are discussing. So it's very sad that we heard, and it is from professor, you know. And this is very common there. Okay, conclusion. There is an illusion, as I mentioned at the beginning, you know, that Malaysia is a wonderful, it is wonderful, but it's not heaven on earth. This is one of the things that, some of the issues that we come across by the Sudanese, it can be generalized throughout the African. I mean, whatever most of the people, they say, I feel as if they are talking about our Sudanese problems in Malaysia. The globalized world, social integration is a key determinant to harmonious existence. It is therefore recommended that Sudanese community leaders and the students should operate and should cooperate with the local authorities to improve reciprocal harmony and tolerance between host communities. Thank you very much indeed. Assalamu alaikum.